So this is the consent calendar for this bar for June 7th. And the first item is, yes, I can see an applicant, a fresh applicant alive. Yes. Yeah, okay, see, am I getting the wrong? Okay, yeah, I look at the drawings online, everything seems to be fine. What we asked for a rendering, and there were some landscape comments that I think you addressed too. Robert, you may want to look at that. It's always at the end, Robert, I'm sorry. Planting, yes, yeah. Oh yeah, bike rack details. Is there such a thing? Do you have the bike racks? Oh, okay.
You maybe just quickly describe what was changed to address the comments? I see it there on the left of the bike rack.
Good to go?
Is there planting specified for the pump? If you want to do 33, correct? Well, my said it's a little different. Okay, yeah, I just went through the plant list. I think it's all good if, and that stuff will work in the pots. So I think everything is
Okay,
been
so
addressed.
ready to go. Okay, we'll approve it at the main meeting. Okay, thank you for coming. Oh, really? Okay, maybe on consent. Okay, great. Nice seeing you in person because it's everything's online. So
Was the detail demonstrating the color of the Vaughn's trellis, was that? It's just the color of it. Okay. And now it is, oh, you just slightly adjusted the color. Okay, sounds good to me. Thanks. Yeah, it's a big improvement to what it was before. Planting looks good from the corner too. So. Oh, yeah, that's a high traffic environment right there, huh? Yeah. Well, don't all the kids, they go over there to get lunch too. Yeah. They let you cross the line. And they got that hot dog place right there, right? Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
My apologies. We were muted for Joe. Would you mind repeating the edit to the first item?
You actually left it.
Oh, okay. So we are reviewing the minutes. The first item, no comments. Okay, Whitehurst Barn.
I think, Val, maybe you made the first comment about the site visit and story polls and which story polls would be required, and I thought it was, I don't think it was front-facing elevation. I think it was just the main ridge line, wasn't it? That's what I remember. Because how do you story pole and elevation?
Well, you could do, plate, ridge, plate, so you'd see the shape.
Yeah,
Because if you only do the ridge, you don't
okay,
see how big it is.
okay. So is that comment acceptable then? It says front-facing elevation.
How about if we add in parentheses, uh,
And ridge line?
corners and ridge line,
Yeah.
plate corners, no, they want what? Corners and ridge lines.
I think for on 4, didn't we talk about more specifically an opening in the middle part of the facade that was open for access to the like shared outdoor space seating space?
Oh, you're on
On 4.
4. I
3
was
was continued. Or are you still on 2?
on 2.
Okay.
Oh,
Because we said return with additional photos of the site taken from Glen Annie Road and a photo sim.
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So I think just add, return with additional photos and photo sim. Okay, so number 4 then.
I think it was something like provide access from sidewalk to through front facade to shared open shared seating space. It was like we wanted a door that was in the middle instead of just pertaining to the businesses. Or an
Could
opening.
it say,
No, not necessarily a door.
I mean, some sort of access and opening.
Yeah.
how about provide more open access along sidewalk?
Connecting sidewalk to.
Yeah, connecting, yeah.
shared seating space.
Well, the problem with that is you're gonna lose landscaping if we just add more hardscape out front, and it's already right up close to the sidewalk. So I think it was more about just the sense of connection from the street, the street to the interior of the structure. And I don't think it has to be a doorway necessarily. I think there was confusion because whoever made that comment didn't realize that the big storefront windows also had a door.
Yeah,
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 but
I made that comment. I was totally, I heard you, somebody said it and they said, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. No,
We also wanted a sense of,
we wanted the patio to move to the sidewalk side rather than the freeway side. So
Which we
that,
do say that.
yeah,
It does say, I think the comments are fine. It's
Well,
that we,
I want to add something because I think there was a really important comment made that's not on here, that the artist rendering that was included in the package was not followed in the final drawings. And they had a very different sensibility. So the, I think the comment should be to follow the sensibility of the original renderings in terms of scale and accessibility. I mean, it had the patio on the sidewalk side. It had smaller gables. It had it felt more in character with Summerlin. And that got changed in the computer drawings.
Stylistically, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, I mean, they're not gonna just remove the back outdoor patio and take it to the front, because it would only be a quarter of the size. So I don't think we said, where was it?
I mean, that rendering had a whole different floor plan,
Yeah,
you know?
Mhm.
Because it had a big central patio between the two gable wings. It was very nice.
maybe instead of consider flipping the uncovered patio area to be adjacent to the street, we could just say, consider an uncovered patio area to be adjacent to the street. That way, then maybe they have a little patio in the back and in the front. I don't know.
Right.
I'm worried about losing all that landscaping if we put all patio up front.
Although you could have a low wall with landscaping in front of it and an opening to it, but people could be sitting there looking right out on the
Yeah.
street.
I think I mean, isn't it only like 10 feet from the sidewalk, the building?
Yeah,
I can't remember the setback. I think it might be less than 10.
yeah.
At
it's-
some place it jogged, I think.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
What comment did we want to?
I was gonna change B to just, at the end, just say, consider an uncovered patio area to be adjacent to the street.
Oh, instead of flipping get rid of flipping.
Remove flipping and replace it with and. But I don't know if that gets to every point that everybody just made.
Yeah, well,
You have a dining area that's kind of covered and engages the street too. It doesn't necessarily
Yeah,
have to be
it-
uncovered.
that's right. It could be, a patio cover, so it's weather protected, but it's indoor, outdoor.
There's a lot of that along that street.
Yeah.
Just, I went and looked at the, yeah.
Yeah, we can't make up something new now, but I think he got the point. Well, he got the
Yeah.
gist.
So do we have that new comment or what didn't get included? It was said at the meeting that the original renderings.
Yeah, Joe, did you catch that from Val?
Yes,
With the-
good morning, Madam Chair. Yeah, so I have a couple comments that I've adjusted. So I wanted to just confirm, for item B, the third sentence, I've changed to consider an indoor-outdoor patio area to be adjacent to the street.
No,
Was that?
I think like a
so
shared
what would
patio
you like
area.
to say?
we just said, consider an uncovered patio area to be adjacent to the street. Indoor, outdoor is a good idea, but we didn't say that during the meeting. But I think it was sort of insinuated.
Right, so that's, I guess, what my thought is, I don't recall hearing uncovered, that it had to be uncovered.
Right.
So we could
Oh.
just get rid of, just say, consider a patio area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay.
that was loud.
Head down, Val.
Okay.
Hot or rowdy today. I'm here.
Okay,
Now,
and then there,
For Val,
go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Okay, so for Val's comment, I pretty much did word for word what Val said, so I wanted to touch on that and make sure that everyone agrees that it sounds right. So it's two sentences. I have artist rendering in package was not followed in final drawings and provide much different sensibility. Follow the sensibility of the original renderings in terms of scale and accessibility.
What? What was the last word?
Scale and accessibility and proportions.
Yeah, because you mentioned.
Scale, accessibility, and proportions.
And the windows were way different.
Mhm.
Okay.
And color, it was different colors too. We have that other comment.
Yeah, we
but-
have a color.
But that was part of the difference too. There's some change.
So do we want to say in terms of fenestration, color, scale, accessibility, and proportions?
Well, I don't think we said all of those things in the meeting. I think we should give it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, okay,
We did.
all right.
All right, item 6.
Really the
That's
feeling.
how I remember that one.
Yeah.
Okay. First 6, where's number 5? Is there a number 5?
Yeah, where is number 5?
Mystery.
Okay, so yeah, whatever works.
Seems like the
Okay,
comment we
6 is
made.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter too much, but I don't think I was the second on that. Maybe I was. Trying to remember now. It doesn't matter too much probably, but. Okay. And then on number, sorry. On number 8, it says public comment none and then lists people.
He just stood up. He didn't say anything.
I don't know.
Thanks, got that correction.
All right, anything on 8 or 9 or 10, they're all pretty positive comments. And 11. This one was the tricky one with the ADU and yeah, the modification for the front yard setback. Like what we said, yeah. Okay, and yeah, number
For number 11, wasn't there talk about bringing back the comments that Hope Ranch had made about it as well?
Mm.
I think that just,
Oh, yeah.
there was a question of whether or not the same plans were shown to Hope Ranch.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So bring some history of the interaction with Hope Ranch.
Mhm.
Got that, Joe?
So, is the comment to return with additional details regarding Hope Ranch Homeowners Association review of the project?
Yeah. We want to see what their comments
Okay.
were.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second,
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. All right, moving on to SBAR members' informational briefings.
this will be my last year as an SBAR member.
no.
Yeah, it's been a joy and a privilege to serve with all of you. But I have, just losing every other Friday, running such a tiny business has been taking its toll. So I think I have a replacement though. Yeah,
Well, we appreciate your long service to our
Your
community.
service.
I mean, we have 6 more months, but
That's what I was gonna ask. Do you mean a year from now or you mean to the end of
The
2024?
end of this year. Yeah,
Okay,
the end of this year, I'll
okay.
be stepping down.
Um,
Figured I'd tell you early,
Yes, thank you for that.
rambling at the,
I think I'm making noises too.
Okay,
Maybe too.
and we're closing SBAR member informational briefing. No
I'm gonna
more.
leave today by 2:00.
two.
Or I gotta be at a meeting at 2, so 1:30-ish.
It's a hard no, Robert. All right. I have to step down from item 3/4, the one that's on Piero Blada. Okay, close informational briefings and move on to the staff update. Is that you? Nope.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Joe here. I don't have any updates this morning, but good to hear everybody.
Sorry, I couldn't hear him. Do you say he doesn't have anything? Okay, thank you, Joe. And we will move on to the consent agenda. There was one item.
Yes, I received positive comments. Make a motion to approve that item.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
I believe it just can come for preliminary. That was in the BAR, that was in the memo for the item that they're only here for preliminary approval. So we're just
Right.
approving preliminary
Consent?
on consent.
Oh, right. Here, but here it says preliminary and
And
final.
final consent on
consent.
our
So
agenda.
it has changed, is that?
I believe I'll pull up the staff memo, but it was here.
Do they have to go to the zoning administrator or something?
Minor comments due to the conditions of the approval of the original DVP, the project may only proceed for preliminary approval and must return for an additional meeting to receive final approval.
Okay, so let's make a motion for preliminary approval to return to final and consent.
Thank you.
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll close the consent agenda and move on to our standard agenda. Item 1, the proposed objective design standards.
Everybody, good to be back. I believe Karina is also on, remote and virtual. So at your last meeting, we presented draft objective design standards for both SB9 projects where you can have 2 primary dwelling units, as well as the telecom standards. We have you had requested some additional information. We shared and posted a map showing the areas that would be subject to SB9. And then we also uploaded the PowerPoint so you'd have more time to digest the information. So looks like Jonathan just pulled up the map. We can kind of run through the standards again if you'd like, or we could just
I didn't quite understand the map. The dark areas are the ones that where it applies.
So if we zoom in. just-
SB9 applies, yeah. So maybe zoom into the Santa Barbara area. So
It,
to,
cover-
to
it covers IV.
it would cover any single family dwelling, any single family zones in Isla Vista.
Okay.
So it's single family zones in an urban area.
Okay, got it.
So rural areas are.
Rural areas are out. So like the parts of Summerlin, for example, that might have single family zoning but are in the rural area, they would not be able to take advantage of SB9.
And just for clarity, so if a project thinks that they meet the general standards of SB9, then they'll apply, it's like a different application process, like kind of like applying for an ADU.
Kind of like applying for an
They
ADU.
try to take a different track and then they might get kicked back over design review if they can't meet the objective design standards and all other requirements. That's how it'll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I wonder if we can go through certain pages, so we go a little bit faster.
Sure. Well, it's Karina, I'll have Karina run through the PowerPoint and you can just kind of direct us to where you want to go.
Yeah, Karina, I'll make you a presenter right now if you'd like to share your screen.
Yeah, if we go to 9, I think 11 is a good page to go.
Would you like to just pull up that PDF that you had earlier? That might be.
Yeah, well, okay, maybe in page 9, go to 9. Yeah, there you go. Facade, does it mean front elevation? Where does it say there? Building facades more than 30 feet. Do you mean by facade? Usually in the dictionary, or architects understand facade as the elevation facing the street or facing the public. Is that what that is meant, or what?
No, that's not what we meant. It's just meant to be any,
The elevation.
any wall or elevation more than 30 feet in length,
So then it should say building walls, because it's clear, because facade means only the wall of the fronts there.
Got it. Okay.
Is that what you want to say? And I have a lot of questions on 11, materials and colors.
Rather than building walls, should we say building elevations?
Building elevation,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah,
more-
yeah.
Walls is,
Yes,
No,
maybe too
little.
specific.
yeah.
Building elevations, okay. Okay, this is this is difficult. The first part, the first point, it is a little bit redundant in terms of materials. It says stone veneer, and then it talks about granite and slate, which are also stone. And then it talks about stucco and plaster, which are synonyms. Stucco is what, people not in the trade refer to cement plaster. So I would suggest to just say wood, composite wood, stone, brick, plaster, and in parentheses put stucco if you want, fiber cement, and then vinyl or metal. Now, I have questions with vinyl as an exterior material. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but other people may share that. I haven't seen metal siding since the 60s, and it was a bad idea. And, so far I haven't seen any good, vinyl siding. So I'm not sure why. Usually you indicate what you don't want to see, not a list of what you want to see, because, basically you can just say materials is the standard use in Southern California or in the area or whatever, except, and then vinyl would be one that I would not like to see in Santa Barbara as a vinyl siding. Am I the only one here, or do we have a
But I'm not an architect, so I don't know all the materials available. I've seen nice metal siding lately on modern
Yeah.
architecture, so I think we should
Yeah.
use that as.
it's just vinyl is, and the,
Can you go, you went through the list. Did you say between stucco and plaster, stucco is preferable? Or
no, I would just say plaster, and in parentheses, I would put stucco under quotation marks, because some people, cement plaster is the real term, cement plaster. And some people refer to it as stucco, but it's not really technically. And I will not repeat, and I would just say wood, composite wood, stone, brick, and move on, and eliminate vinyl.
And consolidate stone. You don't even need stone veneer, right? It can just.
No, because you just see, look at the material is because if you say veneer, then you start referring to the width, the thickness of the material itself. So that becomes, you start getting to the woods there. Yeah, so there are also about materials. There's something about like roofs for it. Okay, let's keep. Somehow the roofs are in the back. It's not.
Yeah.
It should be with materials.
Non-reflective.
Yeah. And it's in the next page in 12. We talk about.
So to summarize, the first one, we want to say wood, composite wood, stone, brick, plaster, in parentheses, stucco, fiber cement, or metal.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. And then on the window consistency, I would just say materials and colors, which is usually happens, but then I should say style, because sometimes I'm not sure how to say it. Maybe I need somebody to clarify the grammar, but as opposed to having one of each, sometimes in elevations you have, one double hang, one slider, one with a circle top, and one awning, and like a good house will have maybe 2 or 3 window sizes and types, and that's it, And I'm not sure how to say that, but window consistency really means that, because usually most people pick the same material and the same color for windows. That's not something that you need to worry too much. But consistency meaning the style, you know, like just as a technicality, sliders and casements kind of go together. Sliders and double hangs don't, because one has a vertical line, the other one has a horizontal line across. So usually the proportions, style and proportions, I would say, window style and proportions. You know, that's what you mean by window consistency. Okay.
So to clarify, so when window frame materials, colors, and style shall be inconsistent style.
Style and proportion, is that what?
Yeah, and proportions, yeah.
Because that's where people get in trouble too, is
Yeah.
the proportions aren't consistent
It-
and the styles.
Yeah, it's not that they bring different materials or different colors. Usually people bring windows, they make all the same, you know. So it's kind of, you know, and I'm not sure if you have to say that. But if you want to, go ahead.
It's good to leave that.
Okay, now on 12, let's get into the roof. That's an important part. And first of all, I didn't understand that part that says
I think you could.
the 12, yeah. What does it mean, two roof forms? Can you clarify that, what it means by that?
Oh,
So, not being an architect, but, so you wouldn't just have one single roof form. You'd have to have somewhere where there's a different element. Maybe that's a
Like a porch or something?
porch cover that interrupts the gable end, or maybe you have a slight dip in the roof form, so you have like a primary and then it drops down with a lower.
Your objection is something that looks like a barn, like a whole barn, big thing. Is that would be like one single roof without this? And okay, it's a valid thing, but I'm not sure if it's clear to the casual observer.
Something about wording it with like roof articulation,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
mhm.
It is hard. It is hard to understand. I understand what you're trying to say. You want to avoid. You want to have something like, especially usually at the entrances, you have a different porch, a different. You know, I'm not sure if it's clear there.
maybe it's something about more than one ridge line, which would be tricky if there's a butterfly roof or a
Yeah,
roof.
yeah, you can't really
Right.
say that.
Yeah.
either. And I mean, primary and secondary, gives a hierarchy, which is part of what there should be,
Uh-huh.
roof hierarchy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Okay, is it clear for you guys? I mean, I understand the explanation. I'm not sure if somebody who opens reads this understands that.
Maybe it's tricky that it's under something, a heading called sloped roofs. Maybe,
Well, thinking that if it's a
But-
flat roof, you wouldn't
You don't have
necessarily
that.
see that.
I didn't understand that. So maybe we need some clarification.
Maybe if you
Fine.
add the reason for it. At least two roof forms.
Yeah.
Because. And
Or variety, or at least two roof, or variety of roof forms to what that,
is the reason,
all- for all slopes.
provide interest, or so it's not so.
monolithic, right? Yeah.
It's not like a two-story barn structure that just doesn't have any.
For housing especially, yeah. Because somewhere else, there's a thing about recessing the entry, creating a recess porch. With that would be almost part of that. But I don't know, maybe it's fine enough. I don't know.
What about? What about adding create hierarchy in addition to primary and secondary?
To create a hierarchy,
So that would implicate, an entry roof first or a porch versus the main roof, that you don't just come in with a box.
okay, what if we add that? To create a hierarchy and emphasize the building entrance.
Hmm.
Does it work? Kind of, okay. Now, the next,
Building entrance and porches
well, that's,
Might not always
Or
be that,
porch.
right, though?
Yeah.
Bill,
Highlight important architectural elements such as,
well, usually the second porch or the back porch or the front porch, they will have something, right? They will have, any entrance will have some cover, or we would like to. Okay, you got the idea? Okay.
So to emphasize the building entrance,
Entrances, in parentheses, an S, an S, because it could be the back or something, yeah. So the garages, what's the story with this? Why can't we have a plain garage door? And I don't quite get it. Why two different colors? Well, I don't get that part. Like, what do you,
I think it should be more that the garage door should respond to the architectural style of the structure, not have all the specifics. Is that,
yeah,
'cause if it's a modern house, it might be a flat plane. But it's just the right material for the structure.
I'm not sure if we need to say anything. I mean, I was just, I don't know. I was just eliminated, to tell you the truth. I mean, I just don't see it adds anything to the discussion. And then we go with,
Just play devil's advocate. The only thing about that is that it would get people thinking about how big and ugly garage doors can be, and that they ought to maybe pay a little attention to it.
yeah, but
So if you add,
what, door windows and panel doors and two different colors?
what?
How is that going to change that?
Well,
Well, if you just go for the cheapest aluminum roll-up,
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the cheapest aluminum door? I mean, a simple door in a garage, it's a garage.
well, I think
if it responds to the architecture of the building.
Well, it has to match the window, match the style of the garage doors to match the style of the building. It's hard to make it objective, but
try to make
Yeah.
mhm. And shiny materials, here we start getting, shiny really should be reflective.
so did we get consensus on whether to eliminate entirely or, yeah, if we say shall respond to the architecture, not sure how objective that is.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the materials and similar to what we're doing for the windows. Right? Saying some,
Yeah, I guess it's true that you can have an arch garage door and you have square windows, it will look odd. How about instead of garage to say garage doors to match proposed fenestration style or something like that? More confusing.
Yeah, because then they'll go, I gotta make my garage door like a window?
yeah. And they
Window.
are normally different manufacturers, like the window and the.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Or as Alex
exactly.
said, if you think it's not that big of a deal, then we could just eliminate it entirely.
Maybe we just take it out.
Yeah, personally, I don't think it's a big deal. It's not, it's small potatoes considering what's coming next.
don't see a whole lot of variety in garage doors. I don't know if it's needed to specifically call that out. So I'm okay with eliminating.
Can we go back to the roof comment? So as I mentioned, that was intended to only apply to when you have a sloped roof situation, not a flat roof. Would you agree that in a flat roof situation, you don't necessarily need multiple roof forms, or would you still want to have?
I think sometimes you have flat roofs. Big buildings have a flat roof, and that's it. That's all they have, right? Traditionally, the Balboa building, all of the buildings downtown has one flat roof, and call it a day.
Well, should we have a separate section that addresses flat roofs to give context to the sloped roofs and say,
Say what?
well, maybe, I guess this is materials and colors. There's a section that talks about the coverage over the front, over the entry.
There's another part about that, right? Like,
That's on the next,
And so that seems relevant to when there's a flat roof that it needs
or no, maybe
to give hierarchy.
There.
Yeah, there you go. There it is. Yeah, I didn't mark it because I was in agreement. I think it's perfectly fine. And that takes care of the, you know, of the entrance, protecting the entrances.
Um, I think there could be a section for flat roofs having a hierarchy as well. Because, I mean, you talk about a commercial building, that's different than a residence. If you build a big residence and you just put a big flat with no articulation and no hierarchy, it's not gonna look good. It'll look like a big commercial box instead of a house. So if you encourage some
There is-
hierarchy
There
or,
is something similar in, well, not regarding flat roofs, but in the SB 330, there's like a little diagram that shows articulation, which is confusing a little bit because it's a traditional building in the sketch, but so it's tricky to figure out how it
You
relates
mean
to a modern style, but
change the parapet height? Is that what you're talking about? Or no?
or just have hierarchy. I mean, the best contemporary houses that we see have some,
yeah.
they have some variation. They have different roof forms, even if they're all flat.
Okay.
There's variety. I was also wondering about, there's always this pressure to use cool roof and go as light as
Mhm.
possible. And
Mm.
yet white roofs, flat roofs are really bad. So there
Yes.
could be something about in the flat roof section, use darker cool roof.
But does ballast work to reflect, to cut down in the reflection? Ballast, like gravel or something.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. It's a big deal. I didn't.
Yeah,
didn't-
because if there's nothing about it, then everybody will go, well, I have to do a cool
To
roof,
make
so I'll
it
make it white.
objective, should we give an SRI index in both directions? So like no lighter than something such and such and no darker than such and such? Or I guess we don't care if it's dark, that's
We
about.
do
the
have that
marketing.
language about the shiny material.
But this is not shiny. It's just
It's about color.
white. It's just white.
Reflective.
Reflect.
And, yeah.
I also had that thought about shiny. We might want to change that to reflect.
So let's go back to 12 then. Yeah.
Page.
So we leave. So we have something for slope roofs already, right? We have some language. Then we need another point for flat roofs.
How
Right.
about flat roofs establish hierarchy, use darkest cool roof.
Well, there's two things. One
or
is
ballast.
one is to establish. You're asking for two things. One is to establish in hierarchy of forms, maybe the parapet height, breakups, or some detail in there, or something like that, or different heights of roofs. That's one thing. The second one is the color, right?
Can it just be as general as establish hierarchy and not mentioning parapets and all of that? And then the second point would be use darkest cool roof possible or ballast.
So right now we have the LRV value of 0.84. Would that address that on the roof?
White roof, for instance.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's how you measure the white roofs. I'm not sure if that's for like reflection on metal roofs or something like that. I'm not sure if that works on white roofs, on flat
PVC.
membranes.
Just looking at.
Mm.
color B.
And it shouldn't say shiny, it should say reflective materials. It should say roofing and siding materials with a reflecting value over 0.84 are not allowed, something simpler, that covers the whole thing. They are so-called white is white roofing means white or what?
The 0.84
Like
is.
Sherwin-Williams has a color they consider pure white with an LRV of 0.84. It's pretty light. I'm just trying to figure out what the number that you guys.
Yeah, I think
On there.
we need a reflectivity value, which I'm not sure what it is for like metal roof, like Dr. Tom Evans who always comes here with reflectivity value. And then something else for the for the roof color. And I think if it's, we shouldn't, maybe not ready to do it now, but we need to find an acceptable color, acceptable value for a roof. And white is not, it's not acceptable. It should meet the standards. I mean, they do have what they call a white roof energy, energy conscious the roof system, but it's not white. It's not, the membrane is not absolutely white. Josh would know about this. Josh, yeah.
It's gonna be here at 10.
Josh would know exactly what because he deals with this all the time. Yeah. Okay. When we move on and see, we can make some shiny
Garage conversion.
So the next thing is materials, right? Like I think it's important to know not what's approvable, but what's not approvable. And that I have my personal issues are with, like I mentioned, vinyl siding and Spanish tile, or should be a two-piece mission tile, not an S tile, not the something else. That should be the rule. If somebody wants an S tile or there's some other terracotta tile that has all these ribs. I think we should go. If somebody wants to make a Spanish roof, well, have a two-piece mission tile roof to match the terracotta, to match the courthouse. Usually that's the standard. That's what people say, to match Santa Barbara courthouse. So two-piece mission tile and no fancy colors, just basic. If they want something else, they can just ask for, have a special dispensation or something. But otherwise, you open the door to the S style or some other variation. That's my take on tile roofs.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how the rest of the board feels.
yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of things like that come up. So like, are we going to make comments on the types of asphalt shingles?
No. Asphalt shingles are fine. They're
A huge range in.
What if you just add on sloped roofs, no S tile?
Right.
No S tile on Mediterranean style.
well, yeah, that's one of them. What I was just trying to point out are the materials that we do not want to see. What is not clear, because they say, well, do this and that. The point is, for instance, is that the S style is one thing. The other thing is the what am I?
Oh, just right.
The other thing is the dome skylights, the skylights with a vinyl dome. They are okay on flat roofs where they are hidden by a parapet. In most conditions in higher buildings, definitely not okay on sloping roofs.
Okay, well, we have our no list.
That's what I mean. It's easier to classify the.
We could, and the city of Santa Barbara includes those two prohibitions, the S tiles and the bubble skylights.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't think people even did bubble skylights anymore. Is that even a thing? That's in
Yes.
the 1980s, but
Seems to still happen in my neighborhood.
Just in case.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
And also, I have issues with exposed coping on the parapet, but I'm not sure if we can regulate that or not. You know what I'm talking about? The coping edge on the parapet. If it's not the flashing, if it's not well done, it looks awful.
That's kind of a basic, it's not really subjective,
It's on the phone, so yeah.
it's a basic list of unacceptable.
Exposed flashing coping at parapet, exposed.
Exposed flashing at parapet coping.
There you go. That will be the list. I think those are my three major points of contention.
Exposed flashing and parapet coping?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No exposed.
No,
flashing
yeah,
and-
that's on the no.
No. exposed-
And
No bubble skylights?
no bubble
No
skylight,
S tiles.
no S tiles.
And also materials, we didn't talk about fiberglass windows. On Fibrex, the Fibrex is perfectly fine. And on the other materials of windows, I think it was, is it metal or go up one?
Can you go up?
Jonathan, yeah. On windows, where is it? See,
I have a question for your expertise, Josh.
yeah. Yeah, for Windows, I think, for Windows, I'm not sure where to put it in, for Windows, fiberglass and this is a product called Fibrex, right? Which is a mixture of fiberglass and wood chips or whatever it is that they make. It's a composite. And it's a perfectly acceptable low-cost window, to me anyway. I'm not sure if we need to say that here or not. Josh, there's a question here for you about white roofs. What would be a reflectivity for an acceptable value, color value for a white roof?
Yeah, we were trying to put
To avoid
something
the reflectivity
about
of a white roof.
people using cool roofs but not going white. Is there a number of,
I was looking at, I wouldn't call it, I think you mean reflective materials.
we wanted to add a section for flat roofs or low slope roofs? Yeah. But everybody wants and needs to use cool roofs, but there are various shades that are,
Yeah, like if you're doing a TPS system, you can go with tans and
and grays, yeah.
you don't have to use white.
Can
Do you
you,
know what the value is so that we can?
Yeah,
make it
would
an
you-
objective
we're trying to
standard?
use a,
Because 0.84 LRV, when we looked it up, seems pretty white still, but it's hard to tell.
Is that, what is that is that an albedo figure or what is that like? What's that 0.84 what?
where that came from?
Is it like
I think it's tied mostly to like paint colors will give a LRV of like, yeah, their reflectivity value,
a light reflect, what is that, light?
light reflective value.
Yeah.
It comes up a lot at the M-bar.
Mhm.
But it's mostly for the sloping roofs, right?
I think it's mostly is like a. used
Metal.
For paint,
For paint, okay.
so that you're not.
Is
don't
Is
get
that the
bright-
value they've used
white.
at MBAR?
I think for
Yeah.
terms of our enforcement, like if we have language that's like, highly reflective roofs are discouraged, and then make a list of what we encourage, but the point is we're looking for matte finishes or low reflectivity, right? I mean, everything, even a brand new Kynar painted roof, comes out of the packaging with reflectivity. You go back a year later, the finish is dull. It can't, the environmental impact of just dust and soot landing on it has its way with it, but eventually those materials flatten out, right? But then there's,
Yeah,
but then there's like, if you go to the metal roof catalogs, they have specific roofs that have metallic flake in the paint, and they're meant to be reflective. Like if you look at the different, like the silvers and there's usually like a silver gray, silver this, silver that, and then they have a metallic finish, a reflective metallic finish. Those are the ones we're usually trying to push away from, but even those we approve because they end up becoming matte.
So,
There's very few like metal roofs that, unless you're going with like a highly polished zinc roof, that are gonna end up reflective, right? It's the color. It's like having a light. It's like when we do copper, nobody complains. If we go to the darker grays, you know, those absorb light and then they become matte finished at the end, but it's like the super bright,
Galvanized.
like light gray, yeah, those.
so,
Yeah, we were more trying to qualify like PVC roofing where people come in with white PVC because they need a cool roof.
So like if we have a parapet and there's no problem, right? But
well,
No, but there can be if there's somebody looking right down on it. So
those can be light tans and light grays and they.
could
What if
we
we just
leave
say
it up
that?
to staff to figure it out, the details? You know, just to figure out the number, what low reflectivity for a cool roof could be.
What you guys are for.
Okay.
Well,
Right.
what
Let-
what
Need
if,
it to be objective or subjective, so you know, I would say what we're saying is like, you know, any kind of white roof that is highly visible to, you know, from a public right of way or to a neighboring property, that's what we're trying to eliminate, right? If it's not visible, then that's the determination problem, right? Like someone has to be able to attest to its visibility, and that's.
it's not gonna
where
happen.
You're gonna have a hard.
Yeah.
So might as well make them, well, how about in our flat roof section, just say, do not use white. Use tan or gray cool roof.
Yeah, low reflectivity, cool roofs, something like that. That was one, low reflectivity, darker.
No
value.
white. Just
Look,
say it.
I think, you know, Alex, maybe you can say whether or not if this makes sense, like what I'm saying, but I've been thinking about the logic of this. You go through a subjective review standard, objective review standards, right, is an option. So
Well, this is-
if you bring your project forward and it qualifies for an objective review, then whatever gets documented here becomes the application of that, right? If the applicant isn't satisfied with that process, like, you know, if they have a white roof, white TPS roof,
And they want to argue for it.
and it goes into the system and it shows up as a problem for them, then they have the choice to redirect their project to come to this board and get an objective review, right? So I think,
Set something up like that.
so that's been in my thinking, like when you author these things, trying to create a scenario where it works the way it works here is like, it's not necessary to me. It's like, we can be cut and dry about it, like, can't have white roofs. If you want to go through this process and you bring in a white roof forward, it's not acceptable. But if you want to bring a white roof forward, then head the other pathway, go to the SBAR and plead your case and make the argument, and maybe they'll approve it in an objective review process. But if you want to go through
You mean in a subjective,
review process, but if you want to go through an objective review, these are the,
and no white.
right, and I think it's important to think that way, because when we're trying to craft these things, we're trying to think the way we think.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we don't
yeah,
need
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
It's like, we're trying to create a clear pathway. If somebody says like, I want to do this project, the planning staff that's reviewing says, look, you can't do it with a white roof. You change it to this color roof, this level of reflectivity, we can approve you. And it should be that kind of clarity. And if they don't like it, they can come here. Which I
And
think
that
is-
leads me to like the larger question is like, what is the ministerial review process on this? Because it almost might make a project take longer if the project planner is trying to assess whether it, like, should there just be an expedited, like, consent review process that sticks to an objective review, like using these standards to like assist the planner on whether the project meets these standards or if it needs to get kicked over to SBAR or whatever, or any of the BARs? 'Cause it seems, at least starting to understand the way SB 330 process goes, it isn't super clear on when you get kicked back over and how those decisions are going to be made, but it's pretty early on. So I'm just trying to figure out how that process is going to work. Is there an assigned county staff person that's going to assess these standards, or it's planner by planner for the project?
So that's kind of a bigger issue that we've been working through and trying to come up with a strategy for, because it's not just SB 9, it's not just SB 330. A lot of projects, a lot of various state laws are pushing more and more like objective
Yeah.
and design standards and less discretion. And we're going to start getting some fairly large projects that are going to be exempt from design review.
Mhm.
And it will fall on county staff to determine compliance with standards. So we're looking at a few options. One is the ability to consult with the chair of BAR or designee if we have questions. Another thing we're exploring is actually getting like a on-call contract with a design professional who we could just send projects to, and they could review for conformance with the standards.
Mhm.
So there's a few different options that would take some pressure off the staff, since we're not
Yeah.
design professionals.
So, or does the county hire a like county architect, like as a position or something? Because it seems like there should probably be one person making those decisions. Or it doesn't have to be one person, but if they're truly going to be objective, there should be like a
High level of consistency.
level of consistency rather than project by project, applicant by applicant, and planner by
Planner by
planner. That's just so much gray area for interpretation.
That's why I think the language needs to be really demonstrative. It needs to be like if you're going to create it, it's got to be real cut and dry. And I think that, again, I mean, do you agree with my interpretation that like the best solution here is to create very clear language that narrows what you can and can't do design wise? So projects that can actually fit through that narrow opening that's being created and go through and still abide by the community standards that have been established. And then if you can't, then there's always this board or another board that can actually help with things that are.
Oh, what about,
So to me, it's just.
people re-roof all the time?
Yeah.
You know, and so that, they go to the building department and get a permit, they're
Mhm.
contractor. So that should be down at that level. No white roofs.
Well, but I think that's how you simplify this. It's like the more direct the language is about what's like you're saying, like, look, we're creating an opening for projects to move through a process so long as they meet the following standards. And it's like there's controversial and then there's non-controversial issues, and you get right to the center of it. Like, we know we don't like reflective roofs. So be very demonstrative in the language. You know, white roofs are a problem. So say no, like put no white, you can, I would say real clear language, like white roofs are prohibited. Like use of tan and gray or other, colors, and then applying some kind of color value.
Yeah, that's what
Creates a
we're,
threshold that's scientific, and saying if it's, that way somebody can submit documentation, a staff member can read it and say, okay, good, on the right page. I mean, we do that all the time. We can control perm levels, like permeable levels with paint and walls in the building code. Like you go to the building code, there's lots of empirical data around performance values that are scientific. You can do the same with color. You can do the same with the albedo effect. You can do the same with reflectivity. All those things can be added. But I think it should be really, I think it's okay if it's strict, and we would never say as a board, like, we're never going to approve a white roof. But I think if you want to create a process like this, you have to say it, or you have to document it that way, and then give people the option. Because it's not going to be, Kaylee, it's not going to be the planners that kick them here. They're going to say, follow this path, comply with these standards. And if you can't, I can't approve your project. But you always have the option to sign up to, you can have your project routed to the SBAR, and you can have their
normal conventional
objective
AUP
review.
process
Yeah.
submittal.
That's going to be up to the applicant, and they can decide whether or not if they want to bring a white roof in, they're gonna have to come see us. People will figure that out. I think to that effect, if that's the way it's gonna go, then I think the more clear and precise the languages in these standards, the better, and not try to create create a result that requires somebody to do a lot of interpreting is the problem I'm trying to avoid. Because when you first look at this, that's what you want to do. And then when you think about the way I'm thinking about it, you go, well, okay, that's not going to help if if we're creating more interpretation. It's going to create arguments and headaches for staff.
Yeah.
With people, and like you said, they're not necessarily qualified or even interested in putting their neck out for those kind of issues. So it's going to slow things down. So if we give them really empirical, clear, delineative kind of stuff, I think it's going to be better, right? I mean, I think that's what you guys are looking for.
Okay, we got a long list. We have a lot to go yet. So
But to finish that, then, should we say below reflective materials, then we have another category that says flat roofs, no white roofs, and grays and tans are acceptable. And what else? What are encouraged? Well, encouraged is subjective.
Acceptable.
Acceptable, but I think we need to give that value, whether it's 0.84 or whatever. I don't,
We
Well,
just don't know what that.
we don't know the value now, so let's figure it out.
I mean, you could also segment it, like, you could say that white roofs are prohibited in rural areas or on hillsides.
These aren't going to be in rural.
This is urban.
So if it's urban, then white roofs really shouldn't be an issue.
it does lead me to another
It's like
question, though.
Talking about an urban standard, like white roof you shouldn't even be messing with that.
Yeah, but they're not, if you're looking down at the white roof, it's not very pleasant.
But that's like saying you look down at the sidewalk is white, you look down at the street, it's black. If you're in a building 5 stories up or in Santa Barbara, you're never going to be that high anyway, but 3 stories up, you're going to see all kinds of stuff. I don't think you can condition what people see from a 5th story window in a townhome or an apartment. Like, forget it.
Well, I think we should encourage a darker color. A white roof, by definition, mean energy conserving. I think it's mandated, right? Isn't it? But there are different types, and I should have the darkest possible roofing that meets that energy standard.
The reflectivities, like there are roofs that are painted with silver to push light away, that are like, put them in the wrong place, you get like a heat effect on the neighboring structures. It can be really severe. So, I mean, yeah, I think like non-reflective and white roofs should be prohibited. And if you want to have one, you got to come here and.
Okay, all right.
Right.
Okay, let's move on.
We do have to wrap, so we should I've been requested to make a cutoff time for this review. So should we say 10:15 and then we'll try to wrap it up?
I was going to say that, they're prohibited and exceptions are subject to BAR approval.
Well, like all of them.
It's a different application process, so we can't reference the BAR, I don't think, in these standards.
I think they all.
They'd leave us to
Yeah.
worry how to figure that out.
Okay, we do have privacy standards, and we also have the other.
Yeah.
This is a
I have
big
a
deal.
Quick question, does Hillside Ridgeline still apply? For the height limitations, or? is-
The height limit of a hillside ridgeline would apply, and
I think we might want to put that in quotations on the, whichever slide
everything is-
says,
yeah,
it all says 25.
yeah,
We might just want to say Hillside.
those are
Ridgeline
just
still
bullets.
applies.
That's not the,
Okay, I
that's
just wanted,
valid.
I wasn't sure.
I had a question on page 6, where you talk about maximum unit size and the 0.2 FAR.
Huh?
And say on a bigger lot, 8,000 square feet or more, 2,000 gross square feet is the max. Now, if somebody has an existing house, how does that work? Because a lot of houses are already more than 2,000 square feet.
right. So the way this is currently structured and we're still playing, I will say, we're still playing around these numbers to figure out what we think is appropriate and reasonable. And so if you have opinions on these square footages, feel free to share them. But the concept is if you already have a large house, say you're on an 8,000 square foot lot and you already have a 3,000 square foot home,
Right.
then your second unit would be limited to, what is it? 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So you'd have to reduce your
You'll have
second
to-
unit in order to meet that overall combined FAR of 0.4.
So if you have a really big lot, then that 0.4 FAR goes up.
Yeah, but we were thinking about
You're
this,
still-
we'll have to cap it per unit and
So it's still capped to.
still capped at the 2,000 or 4,000 combined.
Interesting.
Otherwise, it has to go through the normal process.
Right.
Okay. And then the other one is on page 7, the attached architectural feature for porches. It's really, I guess it's all right, but I've run into it where it's not a very big number for a porch, and porches are usually really an important architectural aid to buildings. They help buildings, but you're so limited in the size.
Think it should be higher.
Yeah, I think it should be maybe 25% at least, rather than 20%. But it's capping at 240 square feet. That's not very much.
Well, another option is to keep the 20%, but just remove the cap. So whatever. So if you had a 2,000 square foot residence, then you get 400 square feet.
If the unit is small, then 25% is not that much.
No, I know that. On the ADU, it was a small ADU, and then they wanted a nice porch on the front, and they couldn't do it.
So if they
because of this.
if they have a 500 square foot ADU, then yeah.
Top off and just leave is 20% the right percentage?
Well, I thought 25 gave a little more flexibility.
But this is the required minimum is 20%. And then the,
No, it's
No, that's the
Maximum.
Yeah, that's as big as it can be. So if you have 1,000 square foot building, it can have 250 a porch, which is not very big.
Well, it's 10 by 25. That's not so bad. 12 by 12 by 12, 12 by 4. Yeah. 240 is not that. 12 by, what is it, 12 by 12?
Yeah, I was actually, if it's at 20%, it's
it seems
200.
more important to put a minimum on it. Isn't it?
Well,
There is
no,
one and it's not
because,
like 5.
well, no, because then people will figure out how to have massive porches that they'll then enclose. I mean, I think that was the
But
reason.
you still, it's inclusive of the max square footage of the structure.
no, this would be in addition
No,
to the
it's in
max square
addition.
footage of this.
Yeah, it's for porches. So say you're at your FAR max and you have 1,000 square foot building, then
See, I
you
think
can
that's
put,
a little unclear. I think we should add that that's a max, like word it in a way that
well, it says attached architectural.
it doesn't say
Feature.
beyond the square footage of the structure though.
You could say allow additional.
Yeah.
I will just note, Karina here, so these bullet points don't have the exact language from the standards, so that is included. So I just want to give you guys a heads up that this isn't the exact language we would be using for the standards, just a shortened version. But that is language we already included.
Okay, as long as it's in there, because
Yeah, so it's clarified that it would be allowed in addition.
okay. Okay,
Well, I think 25% maybe works a little better than 20.
okay. All right, let's move to height limits.
Yeah, so everything's 25 feet unless it's ridgeline.
And that's
hillside.
yeah, we should just put in
Mhm.
parentheses. It sounds like it's already in the actual verbiage. All right, we can.
Just so you know, the state law doesn't prescribe any minimum or maximum height, so, we do have flexibility here. Some jurisdictions do limit it to just single story. 16-foot height limit. Others place no height limit or just use whatever underlying height standards there are for the zone.
So with the ADUs right now, they're not limited to 1 story. So if we put a height limit on it, can the ADU still go up above?
ADUs could still go up to the, if you made them single story, yeah, you could put an ADU on top.
Yeah. So is that helpful to put a lower cap on it, or should we just, since it's happening anyways with the ADUs? Everyone good with 25?
Mhm.
I think you wanted to go to privacy standards,
Yeah,
which is slide 13.
13, yeah. Yeah, this is a big deal because when you start getting to the minimum areas, and the next page, it talks about 300 square feet. Well, let's start with this page. The first one, the first one, it's used in Carpinteria, and I'm not sure how Santa Barbara deals with that, with the porch facing the neighbor. When they talk about 6-foot minimum landscaping, what is that? Is that the height of a hedge? How is a 6-foot hedge going to block a 2nd-story landing that starts at 9 feet?
That was my question.
So what exactly is that?
I mean, technically speaking, yeah, it probably wouldn't, unless the hedge grows a little taller but
Well, it has to grow a lot taller, yeah.
we were struggling with that a little bit, and one of the other CBAR raised the same issue that, a landscaping, while great, hedge would not create a privacy from a 2nd story looking out into the adjacent property.
So if you have 10 feet from the side, then yeah, you can put some nice trees in there. There's no, if you're only 4 feet, then you're stuck with a hedge. Well, if you have like an ADU on top of a garage, you come from the side. What I've seen asked is a wall, is a high solid or less a more solid railing instead of being 42 inches. Maybe in some places, I think they want like a 5-foot height, some kind of a visual shield from the neighbor. But I'm not sure if you're going to get into that. You know what I'm talking? You've probably seen this before, right? Yeah, because what happens? They have a garage. The access is on the side, so basically you're facing a neighbor. A hedge will not do it because you need it to be, I don't know, 16 feet or something high.
Well, you could just take out the unless part and just say, shall be a minimum 10 feet from the lot lines.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have that, one of those features.
Just mentioned 15 feet from.
Yeah, the
Or
last
15.
the last feature is coming in Carpinteria. I think I've seen that, where they have the minimum height to be 5 feet. I said, oh gosh. So what I can contribute. This is what I was thinking about the how we did in Mission Canyon. That the lower panes of this, like a double hang or some kind of window that is below a certain height, that can be opaque or not transparent. It's translucent, meaning have like you cannot see through. They have a double hang. Well, the lower pane is a different material, that not a clear glass, but the upper part is. But the window can have a lower sill, so it can act as an egress window. That's one.
Another suggestion from CBAR was, and I think I've seen this at other jurisdiction, is that it requires more work and study, is offsetting windows from your adjoining neighbor
Yeah, but.
so that there's no direct line of sight.
Yeah, but you still have the problem sometimes of windows or balconies or whatever looking into backyards
Yeah.
where people gather. But yeah, window to window is not probably even worse.
But, but that doesn't look like an ODS, like an, like an objective design standard. It's more complicated. It's for somebody to, you know, to
I think
process.
the simplest is to give it a setback so that they're not looming over property line. So I think it's just deciding whether it's 10 or 15 feet for that.
I'd call the first point here 15 feet and just remove the 6-foot landscaping. And then what Alex mentioned about, for the second bullet point, the sill height, that won't matter as much, but there should be any glass, let's say, below, any exposed glass below 5 feet needs to be opaque.
Overlooking
Right, for the, yeah, upper story windows within 15 feet. Any glass.
Opaque or opaque is
No,
solid, right?
no,
Translucent?
translucent, it has the term, yeah. Yeah. You know, like they used to have like in bathroom windows, they used to have that. It could be stained glass or something like that, yeah.
Okay. All right, we're gonna have to wrap this up at by 10:30.
Okay, let's call
Applicants are gonna-
the last one here. And then we'll, it's just one last page, go for the open space, you know, and then we can do the other, the pole antennas next time, maybe. Okay?
Like, okay with that?
Yeah, 'cause this is a big deal. 300 square feet for 1 or 2 bedrooms, and then, you know, it doesn't, it's too much. I mean, it will work on big lots. It will not work in areas like IV or closer to town where you want people to, you know, walk to work or have some other type of living. Those square footages are way too long, too big. In terms of balconies and I passed Jonathan, do you have that page I sent? This is the way the city of Santa Barbara did it maybe, I don't know, maybe 40 years ago. You can blow up the top part, just the top part. Yeah, they have 2 systems. The Santa Barbara has 2 systems. One is the private outdoor, and the other one is the shared outdoor. You can have either A or B. But in this is the, granted it's multi-family residential, but that is what SB9 kind of tends to lead to. When once you start having second and 2 and 3 units on a lot, those are the sizes, and the balconies are usually second floor units. The balcony would be 6 feet. Architecturally, a 6-foot deep balcony is problematic, but somehow, you know, you can work it out. But they are much smaller, and this is what it would be appropriate for, you know, IV, Isla Vista. Yeah.
Given the 10-foot width and IV is going to be, as a minimum, is going to be challenging. I mean, would like that to be possible, but
Yeah,
it gets tricky with such a broad range of properties.
and I know when we were looking at the ADU ordinance in Santa Barbara, there is a common space required to be 20 feet minimum. And for ADUs, I think you were here, you were in the discussion, we managed to lower it to 15 feet instead of 20 for open yard of 500 square feet or whatever it was for the whole unit, smaller, you know, smaller width. Anyway, I think the sizes are way too large, and I'm not sure if we can resolve it now, but, you know, I share this document. I think you should look at what Santa Barbara does. And granted, this is multifamily, but SB9 kind of goes in that direction. You're going to end up with a similar situation.
Yeah, the concept obviously is, so you have some, you don't just have, you know, lot line to lot line or setback to setback, fully programmed
Yeah.
site. You have some open area.
I understand and it's valuable, very valuable, but it could be the poison pill to make any of these projects work. I mean, I think this is, it's going to be very hard to comply with what you're proposing in the areas where you would really like to see more population. Farther away, it will be fine. The lots are bigger. This is doable. Where the lots are smaller, this is a problem. That's all I'm going to say.
Could it be,
Alex, what's the process after you take our comments? Will we see the actual verbiage in the objective design standards table for final approval? Or are you this is just like being
This
nice
is
to
it.
us, taking our comments, and then it just happens after this?
Well, by happens,
It just happens without us.
we take it to the planning commission, who then
Okay.
makes a recommendation to the board of supervisors
Okay.
for final adoption of the standards. So that's the sequence.
Okay.
We're going around to each of the BARs
Mhm.
and consolidating comments, making changes. Well, we're getting disparate comments from the different BARs, so we'll have to kind of work through that. And Montecito, for example, says make it as restrictive as possible, no more than sort of the bare minimum. So kind of work through the comments we get, make what we think are appropriate changes, present it to the planning commission and board. You won't see it again.
Well, I wonder if this open space could go by lot size.
Yeah.
So because there are such different lot sizes involved. So to have a standard
What
per
percentage?
bedroom is really hard to do across the county. But if there was a chart of, per lot size.
Or just by
again, like
percentage.
FARs, yeah, percentage.
100 divided
That
by
if you're in a really dense Ivy neighborhood, you'd have a different requirement than a Montecito.
And just remember, so, a lot of Ivy, that's been mentioned is student residential zones, multifamily. So there's only a sort of one smaller pocket of single family zoning in Isla Vista.
If we wanted to do more of a percentage basis, if it was a 1,600 square foot house, are you thinking lot or house?
I was thinking lot.
Lot, okay, so 300 divided by, like the middle range was a 6,000 square foot lot. Just to get start. So that's only 5% is paid by open space. So we give a minimum dimension in one direction and then we give a percentage. So say minimum 5% of lot size with a minimum dimension of 8 feet. 10 is tricky to get when it's a tight, like if this is in the city, but like on a Mesa lot, I've run into this where there just isn't a 10-foot. Yeah. Especially because you can't use the front yard setback, which is where all the open space on the site usually already is. So.
in this one, if you go down, it says private outdoor living space may encroach into required yards, front yards, if you don't exceed this, et cetera. So,
Mhm.
so he's 4C right there. Private outdoor living space may encroach into front yard up to 10 feet from the front property line, but not include more than 50%,
Yeah.
so it can get.
And then corner lots get really tricky because their whole property's front yard. So
Well,
I just don't know how much we want to qualify it or if we want to just give a percentage and maybe something about that where it's not more than a certain percentage of the front yard setback.
I like that.
So 5%, sorry.
Yeah, look at also the 6. Sorry, 6 says, in addition to that, you get not less than 10%. And anyways, it's hard to come up with the right number right here, and
Only considering the block of area that's that minimum dimension. Like it creates a rectangle of space.
because you also have setbacks and all that, yeah.
Different lot sizes have different setback. So it's really difficult. There's a lot of variation there.
The way it's
I-
currently set up is you could use the side and rear setbacks, just not the front.
Yeah. I think that's how the city does it too. Yeah. So maybe we leave it that it can't use the front yard setback and it's then, what do we want it to be a percentage of the overall site or
Or the size of the building.
the size of the building?
Yeah, maybe it's the size of the building because that's already dictated by the size of the lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the size of the building is going to dictate how many people are using it, which kind of affects
It goes into the bedroom.
the amount of,
and-
yeah, the
Okay.
amount of outdoor space they might need. So,
If you make an addition, then you need to have more open space.
Ooh.
required open space, they previously had it, but it wasn't required.
So it gets complicated. So
Yeah.
I'm afraid we're shooting here in the dark, and
Yeah.
2 years from now, we may regret it.
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah, we can probably count on that.
Yeah. All right, somehow we have to wrap this up. So what do we want to do about outdoor space? Do it as a percentage or leave it as is, or reduce what is there by a certain amount?
No, I think the sizes of, the way it's specified in 14 is not good enough. I mean, if you really want the units, if another board doesn't want any more units in the neighborhood, that's, leave this here. But if you really want housing, this is a problem. The 300 and an extra 100, that is a problem. Especially if you have a minimum dimension for what constitutes open yard.
Again, though, there's always the option of them coming to the board if they want.
Yeah, but one thing is to ask a board chair if this color is acceptable. Another thing is to come and say, gee, is this development acceptable? It's a much bigger ask, I think.
How bad would it be to use the front yard?
As open space?
Yeah. I mean, it'd be good to encourage front yards to be more utilized. Yeah, to be
yeah.
functional rather than
Which is
just,
what we were asking of that development on Hollister. I mean, not to reference things specific, but like the preserved open space to be more functional and not just
yeah, no,
buffer zone.
right, exactly, a kind of undeveloped buffer zone.
That's what we just said for that Summerlin project too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
and like delete
um,
the second bullet, front yard setback area shall not be utilized.
maybe just delete that and then
Go back to the,
see how it rides with all the
Working.
other words.
Then it starts working a lot better.
or just a, percentage of it, kind of like the other one.
Yeah.
No, I like the front yard thing because then it works. Then you have all the area you need and you have flexibility,
Yeah.
Then you keep the same square footages?
Yeah, because you probably do have that.
Possible to know on the
Yeah.
square footages of.
Yeah, well,
But
most people have 10 feet of front yard and the lot, and people have 500 feet and the front yard can use a little bit. It can be done in more than one piece, right? It can be in several pieces, not one single open yard, right?
Correct.
Well, then-
But look at that first sub-bullet, which is it has to be
correct.
adjacent.
Yeah,
To the
okay.
dwelling.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I mean, maybe it's like the front yard setback can be used, but not within 5 or 10 feet of the front property line, which gives an opportunity for a buffer,
Is it a different setback?
basically.
Well,
I don't know.
or maybe you say 50% of the front yard setback area, because it's not the depth, it's maybe the width because one part is going to be the driveway and,
Just eliminate the front yard.
Yeah, let's just eliminate it. I think it's gonna be too hard to find a qualifier. Yeah.
So just remove the second bullet point and allow front setback use. Is that
Yeah, what do
Possible.
you think, Alex?
I mean, so I think a lot of lots that already have existing dwelling on it, the second dwelling that gets constructed
In the
they
back.
have two options. They're either gonna put it above the, like, stack it, or they'll put it in the backyard somewhere. So the front yard would work for the existing, wouldn't work for the new unit in the back.
Remove the first bullet point too, then.
But then at that point, it's like, what's the point?
And you're not giving that unit access to outdoors. But I think if we leave bullet point 1, and then that leaves the architect or the applicant to sort out access, directly accessible, I mean, that doesn't mean it has to be directly adjacent. You can have a path. Right?
A long path.
What if we just reduce
An entire side yard.
300 to 200,
I,
100 per additional bedroom?
I think it's easier to eliminate this second bullet and let's see what happens, what people come up with. It has a lot of flexibility. They're not going to go wall to wall. They're gonna, usually there's a driveway and there's a path to the front yard. I mean, I think they'll figure it out, most people.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
There was no discussion about landscaping and requirements for planting around buildings or anything like
We
that.
need to put in a word for the landscape.
Is there anything in there for that?
Make it objective.
I mean, could you say something like that landscaping should be a part of plans where this is proposed and is visible from a public right of way or something like that? I mean, otherwise people just gonna create something without any.
In cases where materials being destroyed during construction, there should be a provision for 100% replacement, right? That's one of the, that's just, I was starting with like, okay, how do you, sometimes we struggle with how to actually condition someone to have landscaping design part of their project. So the easy one is if there's landscaping elements in the existing property that are being destroyed or removed as a part of the construction process or any other process, that they should be replaced. Like for like, at least, or with adequate, with, that meet, the ordinances, like water wise and system and all that, but, I think there should be some kind of provision that adequate landscaping should be provided and, if we're talking about the urban area, right, we should have some, I mean, there's already provisions required for streets, trees and planters that are along the public right of way that are already there and required, yes? Like, I mean, I guess at the city level, you go talk to the urban forester or whatever.
And
Yeah.
There's that piece of it, and then there's parts that are stored in the property. I think there should be something that,
I mean, I've seen in some,
there should be like a planting list that's provided that's adequate.
well, no, I think look, in the scale of things, somebody puts a new house, spends $400,000 at least. It should be a landscape plan required. It doesn't have to be huge, but some basic landscape plan. Any property that adds more units. I mean,
what that is.
somebody's
Somebody's gonna objectively.
any kind of, well, a landscape plan that has an irrigation plan, water conservation, whatever.
You're gonna do that, you're gonna have to give them a planting list and
Mm,
and quantity, like, you're gonna have to specify.
Well, right now, we just say if landscaping is proposed, it has to comply with WELO requirements.
But somebody with this is
but-
just gonna not propose landscaping because it's the
Right.
easiest route through it.
yeah.
They gotta condition it somehow, so you can't, I think it's not, it's a pretty,
But
Goleta for parking lots currently just says 10% of the area parking has to be landscaped. I mean, that might just be a basis starting, like you just can't pave over it.
right, but what if some idiot comes in and wants to plant like, 600 ferns,
Then the WELO thing, yeah.
right?
So like, I think we should dictate how much landscaping is required, and then WELO will take care of the water usage, even though. But that's the standard we're all being held to right now. What causes landscape design to come down?
think you could do something to like the intent of the landscape, which would be like to help soften, you know, open walls. And so there needs to be so many plants every length of wall that are a certain height. I've seen that in other municipalities where it's a way of like standardizing requirements for.
When we met on this, that workshop I got invited to, we kind of broke it down to trees, ground cover and shrubs. And that was kind of with Claire and some other landscape architects. We were trying to, okay, so there was one requirement for trees that was subjective or objective, and then there was one for ground cover, and then the other one was for shrubs. And it was, the things that were discussed at that meeting were like not creating visual impairment, like having a shrub in front of a window that you can't, or I don't know, there was a lot of, this is where the conversation kind of ground to a halt because it was hard to.
So many.
But that's the framework was like that we kind of started to land on is like there's ground cover conversation that you can have and it's about coverage. And there's shrubbery or whatever you want to call it that creates the design you know, of something three-dimensional, and then there's trees, which like the ground cover and the trees seem easy to deal with because you could say you need to have a certain amount of ground coverage. Yeah, and then you can have a tree and have a certain specimen, you know, that's allowed or required. But when you get it, when we started talking about everything else, it was super complicated to try and find any.
Yeah, I think some kind of a flexible language for landscaping, so at least we have some landscaping. Otherwise, it's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that should be a minimum. Yeah.
Look, I mean, the county requires submittals by qualified engineers for certain things, right? So obviously, if it's a commercial property, it's required to have a licensed architect attached to it, yes. You can't really approve a commercial project without a licensed architect stamp on it, yes. But there isn't a, yeah, for building permit, but there isn't necessarily a requirement for a landscape architect, but in this particular case,
There is, yeah,
in commercial.
for commercial,
Okay.
and then any multifamily
That-
over 4 units.
So the building permit process requires a licensed landscape architect for any commercial property, but if it's residential. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
This is gonna like be just under that, yeah, so, and there may be some instances where they don't need us if they just, you know, or if there's an existing landscape, so I think the objective we have, the percentage is gonna help us the most, and then,
50%.
yeah. And if we wanna do a percentage and we say,
Karina here. I just wanted to mention we can't really hear. Do you mind turning on your mic?
oh, sorry, my mic's.
Okay, thank you.
So I think we need to decide on a percentage and then whether we want language in there for biomass and shading, because I don't think we can get into specific species. We have to rely on Wheelo for that.
Yeah, I've seen these attempts all over the country to
Yeah.
try to
I know.
mandate landscape, and it's like 1 tree per 60 square feet, and it just,
At least it's something though.
yeah.
I mean, otherwise you're gonna
Well,
end up
that's why I think a percentage.
units with an empty lot.
I think you could say a percentage with trees, shrubs, and ground covers.
Right.
Yeah, mixture
With a
of
mixture
trees.
of
Yeah.
trees.
So do we want to say, I mean, yeah, 10 is generally easily reachable in my experience on like you can generally get to 10%. So should we go a little bit higher so it doesn't feel like they just lined the setbacks with
50.
50?
Well-
25. It's like,
Yeah.
So with this density that's being proposed, is 25 gonna happen? Like, so if we calculated,
Well, I think you guys are gonna study that, right? If we give you a.
you can
percentage,
adjust those
do
percentages?
some sampling of it, and you find that that's
So
just way too
It
much.
would be a percentage of the lot area.
Lot size, yeah. So if it's 0.4 FAR, that means that we're leaving 0.6 to driveways, circulation, and landscaping. So say the driveways and the circulation take another 0.2, so then,
Driveways.
yeah, the driveway is a lot.
I think 20% maybe.
20%? Okay. So it's,
That can be covered by existing landscaping on the lots.
yeah. And to be replaced if damaged during construction.
Well,
Let's
probably for
hypothetically, if there's a lot, it's already
landscape,
landscaped, and
right?
then somebody goes and rips out.
And you have to replace it.
Okay, yeah.
So put that replacement
well, the
qualifier.
replacement, I mean, there's something's gonna get ripped out if they put in a new 1,600 square foot dwelling unit.
Right.
And they probably don't have 1,600 square feet of area
Yeah.
to replace, but I think your focus is if it's fulfilling a screening component,
Mhm.
that be replaced
Yeah.
20%
of the lot.
of a
Overall.
mixture of ground cover, shrub and tree landscape
Yeah.
in the new plan.
I have been trying. So,
But we're about there.
well, we have the whole cell tower.
Oh, no,
to
we're
review.
not doing so.
Okay. Are we not?
No.
We'll just kick it to next time.
When's the next meeting?
I think you need to tell us if there's a like
July.
deadline that we're having to meet for it or,
We can make it to July 12th.
okay,
That'll probably be your last
last chance.
chance.
What?
And
Well, that, I was thinking maybe we should have just had a special hearing for this, but now we're 50% of the way there.
No, much smaller. The antenna discussion is a lot, it would be
Yeah.
a heck of a lot shorter.
And let's agendize an hour or 45 minutes for that for the next hearing and have a sure time for the start of the
I
applicants.
don't think we're gonna have a whole lot to say.
No, it's not gonna be,
Okay.
that long. I think it's gonna be more like 20 minutes.
Do a 45 minutes.
Yeah, no, it is. It's not,
Rehash some of the things that on this instead of just cell tower. Because we didn't really complete everything.
No, yeah, this is a lot, but it's important. Okay, all right, sorry to all the applicants waiting. We will close item 1 then. Thank you, Alex.
break and start again.
Okay,
Yeah. 5 minutes.
We're going to take a 5-minute break before we start the hearing.
All right,
Yeah.
we will reconvene. What time did we say we'd reconvene? Okay, we're good. We will move on to item 3. Item 2 was will be continued, but we don't know when. So item 3, the SSST Holdings LLC ADU setback modification. Lindsay Bradley, agent for SSST Holdings, here for preliminary review of a modification to allow the reduction of the required 25-foot setback to be 13 feet for construction of a detached ADU. There is an existing single-family residence and detached garage on the property. In 2021, the applicant received a permit for a new single-family dwelling to replace the existing. The proposed project will require 10 cubic yards of cut and 50 of fill, and it's a 1.55 acre parcel located at 4691 Via Roblata. I'll read the comments since they're brief. The modification is reasonable and the location is appropriate for the proposed structure. Sufficient screening is existing between the proposed structure and neighboring property. Return with site plans showing the location of the adjacent structure, driveway, and landscaping neighboring the property to the south. Is the applicant for item 3 online?
I am here. I'm Jason Grant, standing in for Lindsay.
Okay, great. Okay, let's read the planner memo. This project is here to request modification to reduce the 25-foot setback to 12, which conflicts with the description, but either 12 or 13, to allow construction of a new detached ADU. The modifications require the review and approval pursuant to the section of the LU Land Use Development Code.
You just have to make a modification.
They just, yeah, we already knew that we need to make a modification. The project must receive preliminary approval from SBAR with the modification, then we'll read that if
I think
it
the
qualifies.
finding, we have already made that finding.
Previously?
It's minor in nature.
Yeah, we did. Okay, so when we make they were only here for concept last time. So we'll have to actually make
We'll
the,
make a
make the
motion.
finding today.
So they can just respond to B.
Yeah, so if you can give us your presentation and focus just on the one comment you have, and we can.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, yeah, so there's the existing site photos. The one comment was just related to what's happening with our closest neighbor, and to get that information onto the site plan, which I did. And so if we go to the site plan, it shows the neighbors, basically, it's just go back up a bit, sorry. It shows their existing driveway in the garage. And so where our ADU is being placed is kind of closest to the neighboring, again, driveway and garage, not a private outdoor space, not even a front yard space. It's just really their access drive to their garage. And those are the only comments that were made from the previous meeting. And so those are on the plan now. Yeah, there you see it right there, exactly.
Okay.
Hope Ranch is, and Hope Ranch has looked at this and they've approved everything, just so everybody knows.
Okay. All right, so move on to any questions from the board? And any public comment?
We have received no request to speak for this item.
Okay.
And we have nobody present during the hearing.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Since it's minor enough, does anyone have a comment? And would someone like to make
Yeah,
the
I do.
finding? Yes.
I mean, I don't think.
I mean, I don't think that it's necessary. There's a lot of space there and it's close to the driveway. And there's not very much room for landscaping to shield it. And there's a lot of space on the lot. That's just my
So you
opinion.
don't think the modification is necessary?
I don't know.
How does we'll probably have to take a straw vote on it.
Can you
then.
zoom out on the site?
The whole side.
Yeah, can I comment on that? You need to look at, you need to look
We're gonna take comments first, and then I'll give you a minute at the end to respond.
at the arborist report.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so does anyone else have any other comments? Or someone wants to make a motion? Or I'll let the applicant respond with.
I disagree. I think it's a good location. It's shielded by existing vegetation. There's a driveway on the other side. Um, the rest, it seems easy to access. It kind of makes sense. It's also a charming building. Uh, Jonathan, can you show the elevations, please? Well, there's there are some renderings, and yeah, it has it just seems like not a very it's a one story. It does have the attic windows, but I don't feel strongly about. I mean I think that the modification is reasonable. That's my take.
Does anyone have any other comments before I let the applicant respond? Okay, you can have a minute to respond to the.
Yeah, so I just want to comment on the placement. And so the lot is a sea of oak trees. And Bill Spiewak, our arborist, did a nice job delineating all those. And so we're not putting it there because we don't, I mean, we are literally putting it there because there really is no other spot. We'd like to maintain clearly all the oak trees. They're beautiful. It's a fantastic, thing about the site. And so this is the spot where it least impacts the existing oaks, which kind of cover the property really from one side to the other. And so, and there's an ample amount of vegetation between us and the neighbor just existing. There's a whole series of oaks and hedging and material that runs along there that doesn't need to be disturbed at all, and actually provides a very nice buffer between us and our neighbor.
Okay,
That's all.
Thank you.
The only question I might ask is there a reason that it couldn't be a little closer to the main house? I didn't see trees that were problematic there. It might give a little more room for buffer.
There might be 2 trees there.
Yeah, can you scroll down to what that's the plan that shows the trees and maybe in Bill's? Yeah, like maybe.
Trees 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't know if they're oaks from on.
Yeah, so there is another oak that's in between us and the house, and so again, this placement was again just trying to eliminate as best we could the damage. We have to remove 2 oaks as it is as laid out here, and so again, we were just trying to have the impact be as least as possible, and so
on the screen
our
now,
fear
the
is that
2 gray oaks are
we-
Jason, are the 2 gray oaks the ones that are to be removed?
No, it's the one that's actually in the footprint. There's one in the footprint and one
Okay.
right behind the footprint. And then there's 3 oaks that are between us and the house, you can see.
Right.
And so it's just trying to mitigate, we're trying to eliminate the amount of oaks being impacted. We knew that we were gonna, at the very least, have 2. We're trying to, to your point, our closest point to the property line is 13 feet. Do we have a foot or so to play with, or do we have a foot and a half? I would agree with you that we probably do. Looking at this, and again, if the board felt that we needed to, but again, we thought it was in the best place.
Any more comments from the board?
Are these circles that are shown here, are those critical root zones?
I believe, yes, they are, yes.
Okay.
Bill has a report that probably has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
He has that critical root zones shown more clearly.
I mean, he's what, 12 feet into the setback?
Yeah,
Well,
13 with.
looking at that diagram, you could cut that in half.
Does anyone want to take a stab at making a finding in a motion? Or should we go back to comments?
This is item 4. Older.
Yeah, no.
That's why I'm having trouble.
I just don't think that this little unit is going to bother anybody in that location. I think the neighbor is not complaining. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Well, it's.
Let's make a motion for preliminary approval of the project as submitted.
With the modification finding that it's minor in nature.
Right, yeah, with the find, yeah, basically what we said before, A, modification is reasonable and the location is appropriate for the proposed structure. Sufficient screening is existing between the proposed structure and the neighboring property.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those in.
No.
Okay.
Okay, motion carries. And we'll move on to item 4.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have to recuse myself. from item 4. Thank you.
Yes, okay, this is item 4 for 4683 Via Roblada, in Hope Ranch, HR Property Holdings Trust. Here we have the applicants in person, which is very nice too, so we'll communicate online. And we had good comments, exemplary project, support the projection beyond the standard height limit, and board appreciates the basement feature to minimize above grade development. We haven't seen you since last year, a year ago. What have you done? What have you changed?
There it is. Yep.
Everyone, Brian Cornell
And Justin Manuel.
and Laura Bernard. We haven't done anything except wait for planning commission. So it's been a long road. Environmental review, we had to do a mitigated negative declaration. So the project hasn't changed other than I think the projection that goes over the height, that did have a maximum, right? I think we could. Yeah,
Oh,
based on, I think, some rules that it can only be 8 feet higher or something like that. I don't know, but we adjusted that down a little bit. But the planning commission was very appreciative of the project, said it was very unique, which it is. And we're looking forward to finally making it a reality. So I think we're here to answer any questions, really.
okay. But we want to show the elevations maybe on the render.
Yeah, put those up. Two more.
Counting from the top there.
Renderings down.
Down there.
Yeah, right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can you blow them up a little bit?
So this is interesting. We actually have been working with the structural engineering firm Eckersley O'Callahan that does a lot of the Apple stores relative to this glazing. The glazing actually is partially supporting the roof.
The glass?
And it is, I think it's around 4.5 inches thick. So it's pretty extraordinary, the engineering that is going on to achieve this, but so far, so good.
And what's this roof material?
It'll be basically a white Sarnafel roof. That is something that Hope Ranch Board was concerned about. So they talked a lot about the issues of reflectivity and that kind of thing. But we sort of demonstrated to them because of the angles of these roofs that there really isn't a reflection issue. I mean, the closest neighbors who could see this roof are actually on that hillside that is probably over a mile away from this. But the actual surface of it that you see will be basically a plaster kind of a finish, and then it will be white to, not white, but a white element, as this rendering indicates.
And what other, I imagine it's plaster, and what else do you have?
Basically, the massing walls that you see are going to be concrete walls.
Great.
And then the roof is a steel frame that will be basically clad in, at this point, either a plaster or something like a GFRC kind of a panel. And that's still being determined. But everything that you see, that dark concrete element that is the entry and the other vertical walls are all poured in place.
Anything else you would like to show? No, that's it. Any questions from the board? No questions? Do we have anybody online any comments, any public comments?
We have nobody signed up to speak, and I believe our one attendee is for item number 8.
Okay, so, right, so we're down to comments then.
I think we were fine with this.
Okay.
Changes.
I think it's really, it stand by itself as a piece of sculpture without the people. You know, but it's really well done, and the thin composition and relationship of the roofs and glass is really good, really appreciated.
I was just gonna say, you know, it's the same as what we saw and we loved it before. And so, I don't think there's much else to be said. I would make a motion for preliminary approval as submitted.
Okay, just one comment.
Okay, so first by Chris and then second by Josh.
Totally agree. Now, the drawings are a bit underdeveloped for the preliminary, but we'll give you a pass. Okay? We expect full drawings for final, please. Okay? All right. This is motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay, motion carries.
Okay.
Wait for the hard hat tour. Let us know when the hard hat tour is. I want to see that 4-inch glass. Is that?
Moving on to item 5, the Palmer residents at the request of Wade Davis Architects, the architect from Maya Palmer. They're here for preliminary review of a 2-story residence of 4,525 square feet with attached garage and pool cabana, pool and spa. The lot is currently vacant. The project will require 150 cubic yards of cut and fill. It's a 0.53 acre parcel located at 1068 San Antonio Creek Road. Okay. The applicant online? Am I reading the right? Yeah. It says continued from 12/12, but 22, but didn't we see this last hearing?
Yeah, but I think they're back for final, right? No.
No, this seems incorrect. Let me open it and see if it's the same one.
Yeah, we saw this last.
Yeah.
But we told them to come back full board, so.
For final, yeah. And we only had like one, we just approved it in the minutes today from last hearing.
Yeah.
And normally they show up in person, so I have a feeling they don't know that they're
even
on for today.
I think seems wrong because
Yeah,
didn't they already have?
they already met a lot of these comments
Did
from
we give them
last year.
preliminary? No.
May return for preliminary, but this, our meeting minutes that we just approved, they were the first item and they got preliminary approval and they can return final full board.
Yeah, so
Yeah, there it is.
they could have been on for final, but.
No.
this seems wrong.
And
Okay, so-
I was gonna see if the plan set looks like final. Do they have all their architectural details?
Yeah.
No,
Are they online?
They don't.
Yeah.
This is the same plan set we saw last time.
they don't
so-
have architectural details.
Okay, all right, so
All right, jamming through that.
I
out.
know. All right, moving on to item 6. We'll return if they end up online. The Sup Vista Holdings LLC edition request of Joseph Algieri, agent for the SUP Vista Holdings, here for conceptual review of an addition to an existing single-family residence with PV solar system, no plumbing. The following structures exist: a 3,653 square foot residence proposed, and the project will require no cut or fill. Property is 3.37 acres, located at 2745 Bella Vista Drive in the Toro Canyon Community Plan area. Is the applicant online for this item?
The applicant is online and they actually requested if they would like to run the slides. They have the same materials that they submitted.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Concept.
Hi, Joe. Would you like me to make you co-host, or is that for Brian Dassler?
Could you please make Brian Dassler co-host?
Yes. Okay, Brian, you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
Sure. We are waiting to share. Looks like
It looks like our permissions are not allowing us to share.
Could you try that one more time?
yeah, we're still getting the same error.
It says host disabled screen sharing.
Oh.
Which works. It's
What? Doesn't look like it's working on our side. I can run. Oh, let's try it one more time.
okay.
If this doesn't work, you guys, if it's okay, you can just tell Jonathan what she'd like to be on.
There you go.
It looks
I
like
think we got it.
Same share. Okay, great. Can you guys see our screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Dassler. I'm here with Ron Radziner.
How are you?
And Joe, and we're with Marmol Radziner. We're actually the original architects that worked on the residence at 2745 Bella Vista Drive. And we're here today to present a 600 square foot addition to the house. Right now, Joe just moved to the site plan. It's fine, you know, site plan. The proposed addition is going to be over the existing garage, which as it stands is a one-story structure, and is situated on the west side of the building. You can go to the next slide. And then as you can see in the floor plan above, you can see where we're adding the garage over the existing, or sorry, the gym over the existing garage. We've retained some of our green roof as well, just to buffer the architecture from the landscape. And the addition itself, we're not proposing any plumbing. It really is just a simple 600 square foot addition. There's a connection to the main residence. And then we just have a small sort of access way outside just for maintenance. Could you go to the next slide? Additionally, we are proposing a solar array on the roof as well. You can move on to the next slide. The idea of the addition is to seamlessly integrate with the existing residence itself. You know, we wanted to follow the same slope of the roof, follow the same fenestration pattern, use all of the same materials that were used on the existing residence. So in many ways, we want this to feel like a part of what we have already designed and what is built on the site itself. The roof line itself has been designed also to sort of terrace down and step with the existing terrain.
If you go to that end view.
Yeah. And so you can kind of see here on the west elevation, the existing elevation is on your left, and on the right is the addition, kind of again, sitting below the existing roof line, trying to use some of that existing fenestration language, so that it really does feel like a part of the residence. Go down, Joe. And just one more elevation here is seen from the yard. Again, yeah, you can see the solar panels there. And, again, we're kind of using the same materiality and palette as the existing residence. Right, we can kind of move on.
Section.
Sure. So I think the main one, the main sort of question for us and what we would like to sort of present to you today is that we are requesting an additional 6 foot 4.5 inches to the allowable height limit of 19 feet. In building the existing residence, the site was graded down roughly 7 feet at the garage level. And in doing that has brought down what now is our existing grade. So we're here today to sort of discuss the idea of kind of building 6 foot 4.5 inches above the 19-foot height limit.
I think with the thought that even though that's technically the existing grade now, the perceived situation would have actually kept it below the height limit had this been part of the original design, had this been proposed originally.
Yeah. And then I think we've also just got some photos from the street and on site to kind of show what you can see from Bella Vista now.
Mhm.
So we're just going to look through those briefly. Okay. Yeah, so this is looking east from Bella Vista towards our property. I think on the right, you can see where the hedging breaks and we've got our existing driveway. Next. This is a little bit closer. Again, like there's great planting and also trees kind of screening our site from the road itself. And now looking from the other direction, you can just make out the existing roof line in the trees there. And a little closer here, again, you can see the existing roof line and just the screening that's already on site. And then we have a couple of pictures of the existing residence. So this is just looking down. It's sort of vertical wood siding and metal roofing, all non-metallic or non-reflective.
And so the new addition would be on top of this green roof you're seeing here on the right-hand side. And it would be lower than the ridge of this existing building.
That's right.
Yeah, I think we understand. So I'm
Okay.
noticing in the folder, we don't have a planner memo requesting, but this is going to require a variance.
There's no planner assigned.
No planner assigned.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
conceptual.
Okay.
It's from a-
All right, so we will move on to questions from the board. Does anyone have any questions? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, one question. The material of the garage, is that metal or what is that? Or the plaster?
Plaster, yeah.
Yes, it's plaster. And the addition, what you're putting on top is going to be the siding?
Yes, it'd be the same wood siding.
Same as
So
that,
that sort
okay.
of stained wood siding that you're seeing there. The windows, everything actually would match the existing residence is the plan.
And would you have problems keeping all the planting on the roof with your addition? And it's going to be more like a 3 foot wide planter, right? Is that the problem with like moisture and etc.?
No, it shouldn't be a problem. We do those sorts of green roofs pretty often on projects where, you might have a 2 to 3 foot sliver of green roof. And we found they're easy to maintain and we haven't really come across any issues.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to public comment. There's one letter in support in the folder from a neighbor. So is there anyone else online? We don't have anyone in the audience today. No.
We have nobody signed up to speak and we have received no letters.
We received one letter that.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did
Right.
receive the one
Yeah,
neighbor letter,
They had coordinated to make neighbors right.
but we have nobody signed up to speak and nobody currently present.
Okay. All right, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Start with John.
Well, I think it matches well and, it looks good as if it were always there.
That's our hope.
I agree. Yeah, it's a fine project. It's definitely approvable.
Yes, I agree. Actually, I think it completes the building and it's really not visible from the neighboring road. It's not going to change the visibility at all. So, yeah, it's a good project.
It's,
Oh, yeah, I agree. I would support a modification if necessary, once that's determined where the existing ground plane is. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm in support.
No further comments. I concur with all the previous comments.
I agree with the positive comments as well.
As well. So you can return, should we say,
Chair, I have the language here from the previous project that we could use. Modification is reasonable and the location is appropriate for the proposed structure. Sufficient screen is existing between the proposed structure and the adjacent road. And that's it. Mhm.
and we don't have a planner assigned, but it potentially could come back for prelim final since it's pretty straightforward. So if we can agendize it unless the planner finds on consent, sure. So with confirmation from whoever the assigned planner is, they can come back for final on consent. Okay, thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 7, the McQueen 4-car garage. The request of Crystal Chan and Michael Ober, agent for Brent and Marie McQueen, here for a prelim and final review of a 4-car garage of 877 square feet. It will be constructed below and an ADU above. The following structures exist on the parcel: a 2-story, 4-bedroom, single-family residence, including an attached 2-car garage with residence totaling 2,663 square feet. The proposed project will require no cut or fill. It is a 0.23 acre parcel located at 6776 Del Playa Drive in Isla Vista. I'll read the comments briefly. Existing tree grounds the structure, identify tree and canopy of existing tree, and clarify whether it will be impacted by the proposed structure, protect or replace with new specimen tree. Make window fenestration consistent throughout. Consider casement windows throughout rather than double hung. Rafter tails project further out on roof of existing structure. Consider updating rafter detail on proposed structure to match. Study ways to improve garage elevation. Incorporate architectural elements such as an eyebrow over the garage doors. Incorporate planting along the fence line and along the street as a landscape buffer. Okay, is the applicant online?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, you can go ahead and give us your response to those previous comments.
Sure. I'm Jared Gorin from Vanguard Planning, and I'm going to take the comments out of order and just go by which sheets we have up here. So starting with comment A, which you can see on this sheet, we studied this tree and we really don't think, we think that the structure is going to impact that tree. So we didn't go through showing its canopy and everything. We just we're proposing a replacement for it. So we're proposing to replace it with a Monterey cypress. We picked that tree because there's a bunch of other Monterey cypress right around this property, which are all thriving and doing really well there. So we picked the same. And then we also, in terms of landscape planning along the fence and the street, we're keeping that Chinese elm tree. We're proposing to put in a bunch of ground cover. It's a salvia, which is pretty hardy and should do really well there. We've got those existing 4 palm trees on the property line, the eastern property line, and we've got that roughly 5-foot landscape buffer plan there to cover with the ground cover. We do want to have a ground cover there rather than a hedge because cars backing out of the garage, we don't want them backing into a hedge. We'd rather have something that they can overhang. So that's why we're proposing that. Let's go to the elevations. Okay, great. So one of the comments was to make the window fenestration consistent. We had some double hungs and some sliders before, and the main residence that's on the property has sliders. All the windows that I've seen are sliders. I don't know if there's anything else, but we just decided to make these all consistent as sliders. We're really reluctant to put casements in a place that a bunch of students are going to be living. We're not optimistic about the survivability of casements in that situation. So the sliders are easier. They're going to be more durable, I think, long term, and they match what's on the existing residence. So we just made them all consistent throughout. And then on the rafter tails, we redesigned the rafter tails to match the detail that's on the existing residence. So you can see that in that south elevation. So on the main residence, the rafter tails stick out past the roofing material. And so this matches exactly what's on the house. Let's see. The garage elevation, it was just a flat elevation before, and you had asked us to do something to improve the elevation, specifically an eyebrow on the garage. We looked at it and we just included some trellises with brackets that'll give some shadows and things throughout the day. I suppose we could put planting material on those, although I don't think it's gonna survive very long, but the brackets on their own should break up that elevation and give us some shadow lines, and that's our response to that comment. So that's the responses to all of the comments from the last hearing. And then if we could just go through the rest of the sheets, we've got colors and materials and the light fixtures picked out. So you can see all of that. So I can't really read this on my screen. Okay, great. So basically we're matching the existing that's on the main house. The roof is going to be asphalt shingle, which is what's on the main house. And then we pick these exterior lighting fixtures. They're dark sky compliant. And that's all of our materials there. There's some additional cut sheets on the next page. And then there's the civil page, which we don't need to get into. And we're just not doing a whole lot to the site. Just some really minor, just getting drainage away from the house. So that's everything I have, and I can answer any questions that you have.
Sounds good. Thank you. We'll move on to questions from the board.
I have a question. Yeah, what material are the windows?
I'm not sure. I think they're going to be vinyl windows. Pretty sure that's what's on the house. So we would just match that.
They look more like aluminum in that picture, but anyway, sure. Thanks.
I have a question, Jarrett. The garage doors are not specified. Is that also to match the main residence, which looks like the body color, the gray?
Yeah, we'd match the body color on there, and those are just going to be your standard roll-up sectional doors. We weren't planning any windows in them. I suppose we could put windows in them if that was going to, it might actually look nice with windows in them on that facade. I guess I'd ask your direction on that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? We'll move on to public comment.
We have nobody signed up to speak, and we have nobody in the audience.
Letters in the folder. Nope.
No letters.
All right, we will close public comment and move on to comments from the board. We'll start with Val.
Well, those narrow sliders are really odd looking. I think you'd do better if you're gonna not do casements. I think they'd be better as double hungs. You may have had that before, but we were trying to get you to organize the windows. But sliders that are like 1 foot wide are really not good. So I think you'd do better to make those 4 windows double hungs. And I don't know about the bathroom windows, but yeah, it's just.
I think that's exactly what we had before.
You just had 4 double hungs in those exact location?
Yeah, and the rest were sliders, and we were asked to make the fenestration consistent.
This is sorry, this is a question, not a comment, but
Sure.
why are those windows so narrow?
They're windows that are on both sides of what would be a TV wall in a living room. So if we made them wider, it would start making that room unfurnishable. So that's our goal there. You can see it in the floor plan. If we start making them a lot wider, it really cuts down on what you can do with that wall, which is really the only furnishable wall in that room that makes sense.
So let me ask the question. What's the problem with having those little windows, big casement? What is the lifespan of it? How is that different? What's the problem? Is a second story window or even the first story windows? I don't know. I have casements in my house for the last 20 years and nothing wrong with them.
Board Member Peugeot, do you have 6 people living in your house that are students? Because it makes a difference.
No, I don't have. I have grandchildren.
Okay, the grandchildren might be close. But yeah, we're concerned about those things breaking and having to constantly repair them. And a slider window is robust and it's probably not going to break. So, and we have no problem with the double hungs. If you want us to go back to that, that's fine. We just want windows which aren't going to get destroyed. If you wanted us to go double hung on the whole thing, I think that would be fine too. But just give us a direction and we're fine with that.
Let's go back to elevations, Jonathan, and then we'll move on to comments we've only done ballot comments, right? Alex?
I like the eyebrow. I think it's very nice. I would suggest you move it up another foot. It seems kind of low. And don't give up on landscaping. I mean, it seems like you're renting these places to borderline criminals that destroy everything.
Or some people would call them students, but yeah.
Maybe you tell them, you put a note in the lease saying.
Space to destroy.
In the lease, you tell them not to, kill the plants, not to break the windows, and anyway, I think it's nice. Nice. I think as far as the garage door, I think probably the windows that you propose kind of dress up this elevation a little bit. It's really too bad you can't do the casement on the little windows, not because they do match the sliders. They are part of the same family. But anyway, I'll let the rest of the board fight for that.
All right, John?
Well, to further elaborate on the window situation, I think they could all be double hung, and on the larger window, put a divider in the center and let it go at that.
They gotta be, they gotta be egress, right? Egress sizes, right? So it's gonna be 5 feet tall, at least one of them, and etc.
All right, Josh?
I don't have any further comments.
Okay. Robert?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much good. The only comment I have is I would see if maybe it makes more sense to take your stairway and move it to the other side now that you've eliminating that tree. Because I think the way you've got it proposed there, that stairway coming off the building is right up against the driveway. It might look better if it was positioned on the other side of the house, and then then you have kind of a usable space underneath there. Right now, it's kind of awkward with the way the stairway comes down, probably right where somebody would want to hang out underneath that, so. Other than that, I think it's cool.
Chris?
Yeah, I think not much to add. I think windows and the garage doors is probably a good idea. It's a pretty blank facade. I think moving the eyebrow up a little bit is a good call. And as far as the planting goes, I think we just need to size. Well, where is it? I see the 1 gallons for the sages, but I think the Monterey cypress was not sized. What are you planning there? 24-inch box maybe?
24-inch box, 36-inch box, something that looks good. Sometimes let's just say 24-inch box, and we'll try to get one which really should be in a 36-inch box and get the biggest one we can.
Okay, and then I would upsize the salvias to 5 gallons. 1 gallons are very vulnerable just to get trampled. So minimal change, but helpful, I think.
You know how things are.
I know it's criminal.
They're not breaking windows, they're trampling.
This is agendized for prelim final. We did have comments, so does anyone want to make a motion with or have it come back final on consent?
I just have one final comment question. Vinyl windows also come in black. Now, you may want to choose that because it will match the colors of the main house with a white border, the white trim around it, and the black windows. So think about it. Okay. I'm willing to make the motion for preliminary approval with the double hung windows throughout, and switching the garage deck. The deck access seems like a good idea. If the tree is not an issue anymore, it seems like it would improve the project. Yeah.
And final on consent when they come back? Or
If it's okay with you guys? Yeah, all right. Okay.
I would just ask the applicant, is there a reason the stair couldn't be flipped?
No, now that the tree is not an issue, it would be able to be flipped, and it wouldn't affect the floor plan at all. And I agree, it would be much nicer to have that stairway coming up from the driveway side rather than what it's doing now.
Well, those criminal kids with their U-Hauls are just gonna run into that stairway, so it's gonna protect your stairway.
So then
I agree.
So since you're coming back, I would just ask, what is the planting proposed for the crosshatched area underneath the cypress and down the side? Is there a need for screening along that western property boundary? So maybe just take another quick look at the landscape.
We'll look at it again. It needs to be something low so that the cars can overhang it. And on the opposite side of that fence is another driveway and parking area. So we're not super concerned about screening.
Yeah, no, I was looking at the other side, the west side, and what's happening underneath.
Also a parking area.
Okay. So, and then what happens underneath the deck and what happens underneath the Monterey cypress, those sorts of things. So it's just another quick look at the
further
landscape.
developed, further details on the landscaping.
Yes, thank you.
All right, do we have a second to,
I'll second.
all those in favor? Aye. Aye. You can be agendized for final on consent when you come back.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We are moving on to the final item. Item 8, Rubin addition, request of Mike Rubin here for further conceptual review of an addition of 996 square feet to the existing residence. There is an existing 1,424 square foot single-family dwelling and a carport on the property. It requires no cut or fill. It's a 1-acre parcel located at 1041 Palomino Road in the Mission Canyon area. I'll read the previous comments. Return with further developed site plan showing all existing and proposed development, including footprint of structures on adjacent properties and including all existing trees. The existing structure is ordinary and could use additional detailing such as recessed doors and windows. Restudy the roof line. It appears awkward as proposed. Consider more of a break in the roof line and study ways to incorporate fire-safe eaves where appropriate. Provide example of proposed corrugated metal roof, return with a landscape plan for areas surrounding renovated structures, and return with photos of existing on-site development. Provide photos of site from public views and photos of neighboring properties to provide context of the property and setting. And it is here for further conceptual. And we'll read the planner memo. It was last seen on March 1st and asked to return for further conceptual. The owner was asked to provide further developed site plans showing all existing and proposed development along with adjacent properties. These are seen on sheets A1 and A1.1. It was suggested they improve design by adding additional detail seen on A5 and A11. They were also asked to restudy the roof line and consider more of a break and responded. This is the kind of planner memo I like leading our comments. They were also asked for examples of the corrugated roof metal, which is shown on A8, and they've provided a landscape plan on A7 and A9. Since it was last heard, they've updated the scope of work to include a pool and cabana in the rear of the property. The cabana is partially in the rear setback, which is allowable per the code, and the compensating area is shown on A1.1. That it? Okay. Nice to get the planner memo that tells us where the responses are. It's great. Okay. So is the applicant online?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you can go ahead and take us through. The planner memo kind of pointed us in the directions of where your responses were on each sheet. So if you could kind of take us through that, you can direct Jonathan to the sheets.
Yeah, I mean, I think she kind of nailed it. So on this site plan, you can kind of see the neighbors. My house is located, it's kind of like a 3-tier property. So you can't see it from the street. And there's like a big old just screen of wooded area like all around the property, so you can kind of see where the neighbors are at in relation to us. And I think that's if you're gonna go down two more sheet, or I'm sorry, go down like 2 more. Yeah, here we go. This is kind of like the context. So these are the pictures like from my house, where you can see you can only see the neighbors in some certain like angles. Like one neighbor you can only see from the driveway. The other neighbor on Palomino, you just can't see at all from the property. That corrugated metal roof was the one I was referencing when we last spoke. That's their house that you can see from our property. So that's kind of the example one. And I think those are all the reference images. And then for the, what was the other note? Oh, the roof line redesigned.
Yeah, the roof line, and the architectural detailing, just additional detailing. And see. And then we can go to the landscape plan.
Okay, great. I believe, so let's see, that's on the proposed. So maybe go down 1 more, 2 more. I'm so sorry, 1 more. Oh yeah, there we go. So on the proposed west elevation, that on that little, that center elevation right there, yeah, that's the roof line. Before it kind of did like an A-frame, and then like kind of came over to the right, and then you guys, so we brought it over so it's kind of more clean connection. And then for the landscape, I believe that is on A9. Oh no, that's the existing. A11 is the proposed landscape plan.
One moment. I think Jonathan is on a call. That's okay. Can you go to A11?
Yeah. So those are the plants we're proposing to go around the house, and you can kind of get a better feel. We did some like 3D renders that are at the very end of the sheet packet, the plan set, and you can kind of, I mean, maybe this reads better for you guys because you guys are all designers, but for me, the renders help the most. Those are on the back.
You want to scroll a little, Jonathan, and go to the renderings?
Yeah, there's the colored elevations, which are quite helpful. And then, yes, exactly.
Okay. All right, I think we can move on to questions from the board. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, yeah, the pool
Well, let's
cabana,
look at the pool.
is it a cabana too now?
Yes, this is the cabana down here.
Do you have elevations as well? Oh, yeah, next door, yeah, next page, yeah, there you go. Okay. What's on the south, that big cross? Is it what, a garage door or what is that?
No, those are just all openings. It's just all open air. The only thing that's finished in the cabana is just a sauna and a bathroom. So everything else is just open.
Huh. So it's a covered porch. I mean, basically, that's, yeah. Hmm. Okay. All right.
All right.
I have a question. Can you go maybe to the, let's see here. How about the site plan or the A9? It's fine. Just kind of looking at, I'm sure it's because of grading, but it would be nice to have that cabana sort of lined up with that pool. Is there a reason that couldn't be done? It's a little awkward just having it a few degrees off.
You know, we talked a lot about that. We did that intentionally, actually, because when we are like in lawn chairs under there, we really wanted to more center it on the yard space to the left. It's just more of like an open place where my kids can be playing soccer and whatnot. And that was what we thought would be the best for our family.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
Yeah, could we go to the south elevation? No, of the house. Okay. I was thinking that if we look at the west elevation, and it seems to have a lot of glass and no overhang there, no shade on it. I mean, it might be a good idea to think about putting, you're going to get a lot of heat gain from that glass. So you might want to put some shade element over it.
Right on that west elevation, if you look maybe on the site plan, you can see it. There's some very large eucalyptus trees directly outside of those, so it's actually incredibly shady. If you can, yeah, it's even hard to see on there. I think if you go to sheet where we illustrated it, yeah, sheet A9. Yeah, you can see these large eucalyptus all in front of the addition.
Okay, just a thought.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone online? There's no one in the audience.
We have nobody online, nobody in the audience, and no letter submitted.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. We'll start with Alex.
Yeah, can we go back to the renderings on page, let's see.
La Cabana or
The renderings are, no, the renderings, I think it's at the end, there you go. That's yeah, go to the other one, the main. No, where you were before, the picture below, there we go. Yeah, in plan, the addition, the roof looks awkward, but in reality, as shown in this rendering, is acceptable. So I find it acceptable. I think the shared deck out of one door that comes out of a gable and another one that comes out of a shed, it's awkward, but it's your residence. So you're allowed to do that. So I'm in support of this application.
Okay. John? Okay. Val?
Can you scroll down enough that we can see? Yeah. It seems odd to me to have so many doors with no weather protection in terms of overhangs or small projections for the doors, or even some element of covered porch. It looks very bare. And I feel the same way about the pool cabana too, that it could use a little more detailing. It just looks like a kind of a stucco box with some holes cut into it. You could put, I just think it would be more livable to you with some projections, some additional roof projections of trellis or porch.
Right over the front door, we do have one to differentiate between the side doors. You can kind of see it in that rendering on the top left. It's that like patinaed steel overhang that comes right over the door to kind of make a little more of a threshold space.
We call that minimalist.
Yeah, minimal. I mean, that was just kind of the direction we were taking. We liked a very soft palette, and we were just trying to really keep it as minimal as possible. It was kind of the intent.
Oh no, I think it needs some more detail, some trellis or porch roof. You can pick where you put it.
Okay.
All right, Josh?
I don't have anything to add.
Chris?
Yeah, I don't either. I agree with Val. I think a little bit more something on the house would help. And I do think it's going to be awkward that the pool is not online with the cabana once all is said and done. But again, nobody really sees it. You're the one who has to live with it. So I think I'm fine with it.
Okay. Robert?
I appreciate the development you've done since the last proposal here. And that cabana, just the way that it's laid out with the bathroom and the sauna right in the middle of the space, I feel like it's really inefficiently designed. And it doesn't affect anybody on this board, but I just encourage you to study that. If I was going to build the thing, I'd take the sauna and the bathroom and locate it in a corner and then give you a big open space. But anyhow, I don't know, that has to go into the comments, but other than that, I think you've made a lot of improvements on it, so positive comment.
Thank you.
What are you looking for?
Yeah, go up one sheet there. Just look at the layout of this, how the bathroom and the sauna are like right in the middle of the space. And then there's a door to the side of the sauna. And then, or to me, the whole space is like split up into a C shape that makes for a lot of unusable space when you could take that sauna and that bathroom and locate it in one corner and then give yourself this grand open space in the middle of it, which is probably what a cabana wants to be. So just struck me as a little odd. Also, I agree with Valerie that the openings into that cabana are awkward. It has a quality of like it has a quality of like a building that just didn't get finished with windows or some windows and doors. Like those openings, it feels like window, like a sliding glass door should be in there or something. That would just, I think there's a different way to detail it to get you what a cabana wants to be. But again, it doesn't make a big impact on any of the public. I'm just saying this because it kind of caught my eyes a little wrong. So.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I add a comment?
yes.
It seems like the feeling of the board or the direction is that it's a very austere building and it could be modified by either recessing some of the openings or the doors or adding a little trellis or shade structure or extending the roof overhang out a little bit, which would help the overall aesthetic of the building a great deal. I think you should give some serious thought to that.
Yeah, I think if it's acceptable, I think the trellis concept could be quite nice. So, I mean, I think we can give it some thought and then do something right there. Would you?
It's the board's time to talk, okay, right? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, do we have any other comments from the board? All right, you can have 1 minute to respond and we'll move on to if someone wants to.
Oh, no, that's okay. I apologize. I didn't realize the formality. You guys can proceed.
Okay. So you're here for further conceptual. Does the board feel like it can return for preliminary with additional detailing and the other comments made? Okay, so you, we don't make a motion at conceptual, so you can just return prelim full board with those additional comments.
Comments of the overhang or shade protection of the entrances, et cetera, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Joe, would you like to summarize the comments for us? Or would you be able to? Joe?
Yes, Madam Chair, I can go ahead and do that.
Oh, we can't hear
So
you
I
very
have-
well.
Oh, sorry, let me just change my, for 1 second. Okay, is that better?
Yes, much better.
Okay, great. So I have size, bulk, and scale of addition is acceptable. The board appreciates development of proposal since project was last heard. Consider overhangs or weather protection above door openings in single-family dwelling and cabana. Cabana requires additional architectural detailing, include roof projections such as a trellis or porch.
All right, so with those comments, you can return prelim full board next time you come.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'm very loud now too. Change in volume. All right, that was the last one. Alex makes his usual motion to adjourn. Okay,